Thank you for tuning in. Welcome to my 6th episode of my weekly show, Real Sense Now, featuring yours truly, Dawood Bedrosian. If you haven't tuned in, and if this is your first time, let me tell you what. This show is everything that you're going to ever want to know about any area of real estate. We cover all things real estate here, and we've designed the show so that we can actually educate you and teach you and give you the facts on what's trending in real estate if you're a buyer or a seller, ways to find lucrative investments, what to look for when you're searching for a property or vacation home, tips and tricks on buying a fix and flip. And more importantly, we're here to just show you how owning real estate is essentially the cheat code for your success. So every Saturday, we're here between 11 and 12 o'clock. And like I said, we cover all things real estate. So I just read this article from Forbes that basically gave me the inspiration to just set up this whole hour to share with you here. And if you've been looking at temperature gradients on a map of the continent of North America for the past few weeks, it's not hard to tell why Florida is probably one of the hottest markets for people to come and visit, to buy real estate in. Why? Because we have great freaking weather. That's why.
Did you really just drop a weather joke in a weather pun and a real estate pun in one joke right there?
Listen, man, it's a real estate show and we have great weather. I mean, like, why not? Our market's on fire. It's hot as hell. Yes, I did drop a pun here. Thanks, Eric. Back to the show again. You can jump in whenever you want, my man. Okay, so with partial lockdowns and restrictions on indoor dining, entertainment, sports, guess what? If you're not in Texas and if you're not in Florida, you're pretty much SOL. Why? Because you're probably in your snow boots, chipping up ice off your windshield. And you know what? The weather kind of sucks wherever you guys are at, somewhere up north. And I got a couple of really great guests here on the show that I'm going to introduce a little bit later. But before we do that, I just kind of want to give you guys a reason why this weird dynamic is happening in our amazing state, right? So our economy, as we all know here, and for those of you who are watching live on social media or will be checking us out on YouTube or Facebook once we record the show and post it up there, you will obviously know that our economy is open. We have fewer mask restrictions, lesser COVID counts than other places. We have a booming remote work scene going on. Of course, now a little bit more stable politics that's making people a little bit more confident to come in and start investing again. No state income tax. All of the reasons why, essentially, it's the perfect setup or layout for why anybody would want to, now more than ever, move to Florida and buy real estate here. Okay? But none of this stuff made sense during the pandemic, especially when we were in the thick of it. Why? Because it was an unprecedented time. There was no common logic for it, and there's no common logic for what's going on right now, especially in the real estate market. Many thought that the real estate market would crash like it did in 2008. Okay? Restaurants would close their door. Commercial real estate would just, I don't know, have tons of vacancies everywhere. Hotels will be shutting down. You can buy them for pennies on the dollar. Guess what? None of that stuff is happening, at least not here in our market in Orlando and more so in Florida. Why? Our interest rates are phenomenal. We're at all-time lows. More importantly, according to the February 21 Aura reports, in Orlando, we only have 1.5 months of inventory in the market. That's the lowest point it's hit in 15 years. And if you guys don't understand what that really means, a normal market is when sales prices are not going crazy and there is a normal inventory somewhere around a 6-month mark of supply in our market. So therefore, let me tell you what, guys, if you're a seller, if you're looking to sell, there is no better time to buy. And it doesn't mean that it's bad luck for those on the buying side. Still a great opportunity because the interest rates are low. The only issue here is you're going to be competing with a whole lot of people bidding on the same house. And in many cases, as we're finding here, actually listing your house at a price that is reasonable may actually drive the price of the house because of the amount of offers coming in. One of my guests is actually going to tell you about an interesting story that completely blew me away. I was actually driving. I was sitting down and I nearly fell off my chair. I was telling him about a story where one of my partners ended up bidding on a house and bid $35,000 over asking price. Now, relative to what some people might not know, $35,000 about 10 years ago could have actually got you a one-bedroom condo in Orlando. My friend in Toronto was like, yeah, it's not uncommon to hear of $300,000 or $400,000 over asking price in the Toronto market. And I'm going to have him come in and speak in just a few minutes. But more so on this topic, right? What's going on in our market over here? We have over 61,000 people that moved to the Orlando area just last year. The number of days that the homes are staying in the market are hovering around 49, 48 days, somewhere around there. And it's definitely a seller's market. The median average is $275,000. That's 12% up from January of last year. And the pundits are still expecting another 8 to 10% appreciation, which is really great news for those that are in your own house or thinking about buying now rather than waiting, because guess what? The price is only going to go up from here. We have tight inventory, and Orlando more than ever is just the greatest place to buy in. Why? Guys, think about it. At $275,000, it's much cheaper than any of the other places that we have in the Florida market. A lot cheaper than a lot of places in the Northeast, and that's what's driving a lot of the traffic down here. But for the supply of that $180,000 to $350,000 home price range, there's only about a month's supply of there. So we don't have a lot of homes that are coming up onto the market, and that's really what's driving the price up. Now, before we get into this, what I really want to do is I just want to zoom out. I want to take a bird's eye view and go about 10,000 feet up in the air. And I want to introduce to you guys two of my guests. My first guest is TAKHAR. He's a dear friend. He's a mentor to me. And more importantly, Jazz is, I mean, you got to just follow Jazz. You can catch him on his Instagram handle at JazzTakhar13. Jazz's content is so fire. He just delivers all the goods that you want, and he's constantly dropping gems of wisdom all the time. Jazz is based in Toronto. Kudos to Jazz. I want to give a round of applause over here. He just got ranked #1 in the state of in the province of Ontario and #2 in the country. That's how powerful this guy and his team is. Jazz, welcome to Real Sense Now.
Thank you so much for having me, Dawood. As I was listening to you and how nice the weather is, I gotta tell you, it's not the same here in Toronto. I'm looking outside my window. There's flurries. It's about -4, -5 degrees Celsius. And so for your listeners, majority of your listeners, I don't want you to freak out too much. It's not Fahrenheit. It is Celsius, but it's cold. I was speaking to one of your guests just off air, and he was telling me that he's putting the AC on, and I'm like, wow, like I don't even know how that feels right now. Can't remember that. But thank you so much for the kind words and the accolades that we have received for 2020. Definitely is because the shoulders of the giants that I'm standing on. I mean, I got a team of 41 agents here in based out of Toronto, Canada, 11 support staff, and we've been doing this for 16 years. So we know one or two things about real estate and the market. I was listening to you just as I was coming in about the market indicators. I love what you're doing, and congratulations to you. I think you mentioned this is episode 6. Just a massive kudos to you, Dawood, because I know how much you put into this show, so the listeners and the viewers can get so much value, and I know that they are. And so congratulations not only to you, brother, but to the whole team, because I have a feeling it's not just you behind.
But you know what?
Behind the mic there,
Jazz, I got to tell you, if it wasn't for you, you were the one that told me, take the plunge, do the hour show. And I was a little hesitant for the longest time to do it. And you know what? I followed your lead. I realized the kind of gems that you share with the world. And I have you on here because, we've done a ton of business over the last 10 years or so. When the market crashed, I used to come into your office. We used to work with your clients. We've done a lot of big shows together. You are a key speaker at Key Spire. You work with a lot of the top guys over there, a lot of the big developments. I want you to share what's going on in the market and a little bit of how interesting the dynamic of this real estate market is that makes absolutely no sense when everybody's locked up at home in that Toronto market.
Yeah. Look, I mean, as I mentioned, been watching the market very, very closely for the last 16 years. I mean, majority of the 700 families that we're blessed to help every single year over year, I'm going to say about 400 of them are investors.
Correct.
And so with investors, you better as a real estate broker know what you're talking about when it comes to your numbers. Like, you need to know not only the past, the present. Obviously, you don't have a crystal ball. Like, I left mine at my office, but you got to have an idea when it comes to forecasting what's going to happen. What's the best way to forecast? In my opinion, well, history's our best teacher, right? If you look at the ebbs and flows of real estate, that will generally start to tell you a story. Now, what you said earlier before you brought me on is there was a time in this lockdown here in Toronto. We're still actually in lockdown, okay, at the time of this recording. So it's almost a year. I think next year will be the first time, will be a year from the time that the Prime Minister came on and said, we're shutting down. I got to tell you, I told my whole team, guys, to everyone take a 2-week vacation, chill out, relax, and we'll come back and we'll start to look at what the dynamic is. At that time, I was hoping, so this is now talking about March 2020, I was hoping that the market would just stay stable. Like, don't lose. Like, I didn't want any of my clients to lose any money. I didn't want the value of my own properties. First and foremost, I'm an investor myself. And as the first month, so let's just say the full month of April of 2020, we saw a 1.5% increase compared to the year before in values. And I was like, okay, this is good. May, you saw a 3.9% increase, where if we look at a 40-year period in the greater Toronto area, and so for your viewers and listeners, that's a 50-mile radius, okay? So the greater Toronto area is a 50-mile radius of approximately 6.6 million people.
Yeah.
We saw a 3% increase. In the last 40 years, on average, we see 7 to 7.5% year over year. So I was like, at 3%, this is awesome. And then something happened in June. We saw 5.5%. And then a couple of months later in August and September, we started to creep into 8.5%, 9%.
That's crazy.
At the end of 2020, we saw a 13.1% increase in values. So to your point earlier, Dawood, like, that is hard to explain.
Exactly.
Now, as I dive into it, I'm looking at, okay, what is it? Why is it? Go ahead, buddy.
Jez, I just need to hold your thought there. I need to stop you because unfortunately the format that we're on is radio. We got to go to a break.
It's awesome.
I need you to hang on to that thought.
We got to pay our bills.
We got to pay our bills.
Your bills, buddy.
Hang on, man. If you want to call in or text 321-339-1055. You're listening in to Florida Man Radio, my show, Real Sense Now. Catch you after the break.